Lisa Michaels here. Welcome to my show. It's all in your head. And tonight's show is about New Year's resolutions and why I think that most fail. Now, first and foremost, I am not a doctor of any kind. I'm a registered nurse. These are my opinions. Um, and if there's anybody on board, for whatever reason, I cannot see um, you know, when people are on here. So, because this is supposed to be a conversation series, right, where you ask me questions, I give you answers. I am a certified RTT hypnotherapist, registered nurse, author of Breaking Free from the Lies That Bind You. So these are strictly my opinions. Some things are based on research. A lot of it is based on experience, whether it's my own or through my experience with clients. So a lot of good information here. And while I was waiting to start my live, I was looking through this email that I received. It's Science Focus is the website, and it's 121 fun facts that that they came up with here, right? And I'm kind of scrolling through them. One that caught my attention is that wearing a tie can reduce blood flow to the brain by 7.5%. A study in 2018 found that wearing a necktie can reduce the blood flow to your brain by up to 7.5%. Ladies, this explains everything if your man works in a tie. But listen, here's the craziest one. This is crazy. I can't even believe I'm reading this. The headline: chainsaws were first invented for childbirth. I'm saying, what? It was developed in Scotland in the late 18th century to help aid and speed up the process of symphysiotomy, widening the pubic cartilage. Really? And removal of disease-laden bone during childbirth. It wasn't until the start of the 20th century that we started using chainsaws for wood chopping. I mean, that's some awesome information. Probably a visual that I really did not need. But I wanted to share that with you because it was just that entertaining to me. So let's see. I might be able to see notifications. Okay. I'm talking to myself again, maybe. Oh, wait. Look, it says I have 2 viewers. Hey, look at that. Lisa's waving hi. That is so exciting that I can see this going on. I did have to change a latency setting in there, so I don't know what the quality looks like on your end. Hopefully it's good. And so we all know that in January, not everybody, but a lot of people want to set a New Year's resolution. I don't know why we choose to wait, but some of us do. Maybe to give us a free ride, up until the first of the year. But we all know also that most of them fail. And most of them fail because, we are only working on half the issue. And we're not tackling what I feel is the three different aspects of anything involving change. So I feel, that change only sticks when you work on all three. So the first part that I'm going to talk about is the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind, make no mistake, is the most incredible computer, recorder, self-operational device ever created, and it's in your head. And it learns things, and then it automatically creates behaviors, feelings, patterns, the whole 9 yards around that experience that you're having, whether it's through enough emotion or repetition or both. It sets into motion what it feels is the best operating system for that situation. And maybe it works for that moment when you were like 2, right? And then the more that you lean into that, let's use something really simple that comes to my mind is just, let's say that you have a good experience around food. I think that happens a lot in Italian families because I grew up around Italian families, and I remember hearing things like, "Oh, you're too skinny, eat," and they love speaking to you and sharing their affection to you through food. So those are good things. That's why I don't always talk about things being traumatic. Um, okay, Lisa's telling me that the video keeps stopping and going. And I think that might be because of the latency setting that I had to choose. And unfortunately, I can't change that setting without leaving the live and coming back. So let me know, Lisa, if it gets to the point that it's affecting the event. And I can always back out and change that and come back on. Thank you for telling me that, Steve. So anyway, so you have a good experience with food. That, I promise you, sets things into motion that food equals pleasure. So, you know, from the time that is set into place, food equals pleasure, right? And it's great as long as you have a good metabolism and you're active or whatever to compensate for eating, because what you're going to do is you're going to eat whenever you are sad or stressed. You know why? Because your subconscious mind knows that equals pleasure to you. So it's just going to lean into anything that's pleasurable, and it puts these processes in the go. So that's what happens, and it happens. It works for our benefit. We learn how to walk, we learn how to talk, we learn how to talk with our hands. All these things that we need to be on autopilot, but it also can work against us in creating these same processes that you're not even aware of. So if you're trying to lose weight and you're going to the gym and you're really hustling and you're changing your eating patterns, those things you're going to be really successful at that as long as you're not experiencing any tremendous stressors, anything that would pull on that trigger, that food equals pleasure, right? Because that's what you've been perpetuating. So you have to come into that awareness that that's what's going on. That's what's driving the behavior, is something from your past that's been set on replay. And you have to come to that awareness and try to reveal, when you actually adopted that, and so that you can recognize all the triggers and start having a different response to those triggers, right? How you doing out there, Lisa? How's your video? Just let me know in the comments how your video is doing, if anybody else is experiencing any problems. So you have to work on the subconscious mind if you want to overcome the rest, because it really should be your the first thing that you do, right? Because if you aren't paying attention to the driving force, then how can you change it if you don't even know what the triggers are and that kind of thing? Like, for instance, back when I used to smoke cigarettes, back when you had a phone that was, had a cord, and the good old days. Somebody said, something about being from the 1900s today. And I can't help but laugh. It's hilarious. Yes, I am from the 1900s. So anyway, when I would pick up a phone or even think about the fact that I was going to make a phone call, I didn't even have to think about the cigarette. The hand was already in motion to get the cigarette and the lighter and the whole 9 yards. It was a process. It was just automatic. Phone equals cigarette. Sit on the phone and smoke. I mean, that is just, these are the kinds of things that are linked to our behaviors. And before you even are thinking about the cigarette, your subconscious mind has already done all of the steps to get you to that cigarette, because those two things are linked emotionally, physically, the whole 9 yards. Your subconscious mind says, okay, we got to do this. So that's why things like that become so difficult to break free from, because you got to pay attention to the driving force, right? Is there any questions out there right now based on this, the subconscious mind? What we got? Lisa left and came back. Any questions out there around the subconscious mind? All right, if you come up with one, we can always come back, right? So I feel like a newscaster. So what happens once the subconscious mind kicks in the trigger, right? Whatever that trigger is, the telephone, cigarette, trigger, right? So once it starts kicking in that trigger, um, what starts happening to the body. For instance, if you're a smoker, you know this, or if you ever smoked, you know this, that when you take a hit on a cigarette, there's a lot of things that go on with your body that you don't even think about. And one of those is that you're taking a deep breath because you're inhaling that smoke. So you're taking a deep breath. So you're filling up your lungs, you're exercising your lungs in a way, not with the good stuff, but you're still exercising your lungs. You're still giving your body an experience. And then of course the nicotine gives you, some somewhat of a euphoria, and it changes your nervous system. Right? It calms you down, and it just runs a whole slew of things. And now it's even worse because there's so many chemicals in the cigarettes that they help your lungs expand even more. They help give you more of an experience. So now your body has this experience that's going on that has become familiar and that it, quite frankly enjoys. Like I remember when I didn't really used to drink alcohol until I got into a band. And when I got into a band, they would, Lisa, you want to drink, whatever, and I'd be all right, whatever. And they actually loved it because I was always such a serious business person, but a performer at the same time. So they saw that it kind of relaxed me, and it actually improved my performance a little bit because it sort of took me out of that serious head and relaxed me a little bit, which was great when I first started drinking alcohol. But the problem is that my subconscious mind said, "Oh wow, this is a nice feeling. We like this. Alcohol is good." So what happens when I go into a situation where I'm sad, upset, stressed? Your subconscious mind is looking for ways to take you from pain to pleasure. Oh, alcohol is pleasure. Boom. Right? And then the more alcohol you drink, if you've ever drank, if you ever had an issue with alcohol, you know that alcohol is a depressant. Right? So the more that you drink, you start getting depressed on top of the sadness that you felt for what would have been probably fleeting. Now you're moving into this more consistent depressed state, and so you have this whole physiological thing going on, another familiarity that your subconscious mind is used to, um, especially like with the cigarettes. There's a lot of things that your body likes from that cigarette, even though it's poisoning you the entire time. There's still a lot of physiological things that your body likes doing. So it gets used to doing those things based on triggers, whatever your triggers are. So you got to know the triggers, and then you have to you have to decide that the physiological responses that you're receiving aren't really benefiting you anymore, like maybe you thought they were in the beginning, right? Just like I thought that the alcohol was a benefit in the beginning. Once it became a habit, of course, now I have another problem, right? You have a habit to break. So it no longer was serving me, and that happens to a lot of our thought processes, actually. If you find yourself stuck in some way, it's because you have a process that's going on that you're not even, paying attention to. You just respond to the triggers, the physiological response, and then the doing, and that's what keeps us stuck, right? Is not being aware of those things. And the body will always go back to what it remembers, the subconscious mind remembers as being a safe space or a good, feel good place. It'll always go back to that space. So even if that space is no longer a good space because you have not reframed that whole process, you haven't stripped it, of its core, saying, this doesn't serve me anymore. I don't want this going on in my life, and you have to make that decision, that you don't want to have, you don't want to be a slave to your to thoughts and processes that no longer serve you. So you got to seek them out and take them out like a bad weed in your garden, right? Rip it out. So that is part number 2. And like I said, the the problem with New Year's resolutions is as soon as life starts happening, which we know that happens, life happens, right? So as soon as life starts happening, unless you have really good coping skills and systems in place, it makes it really hard for you to drive through those old habits because they are comfortable, they are familiar to some degree or another. Even though you may hate yourself after you indulge in it, um, you know, because you say, geez, that didn't feel as good as I thought it would be. You know, you have to get to that point to where that's what you say every time that you have that impulse is that doesn't serve me anymore, and that I know that's not as good as what it was, you know, at one point. So you got to eliminate it because I think that most people don't realize that your subconscious mind and your body are driving your behavior, right? These would be nothing without the mind giving direction to the nervous system and to every part of your body to make you do this. They would be nothing without those two components. So understand everything starts with a thought, then a physiological response, and then the doing that comes from or is a result of, right? So understanding that it starts with the thought and not with the gym and not with the food. That's the important thing. No matter what you're trying to change, um, your confidence, your job, no matter what it is, it's all going to start with your thought process. You got to change your mindset around what you want to change. You have to reframe that. You have to decide that whatever that reoccurring behavior or trait, whatever it is, that you had it. You don't want it to be a part of your life anymore. You don't want to live like uh, the movie with Bill Murray. If you've ever seen the movie with Bill Murray, uh, Groundhog Day, right? Most of us just live Groundhog Day, same day, every day. Okay, so Lisa has a question. So how do you get rid of the physical enjoyment of addiction? So I think again that you have to want something. You have to want this change. And I know that you have heard this question from me, Lisa, when early on in my career as an RTT hypnotherapist, you asked me if I could, make you quit smoking. And I said, do you want to quit smoking? And you said no. And I said, then no, I can't help you get rid of the smoking. But so it's the same, the physical enjoyment of the addiction. I think that if you really, really ask yourself, okay, because I know, Lisa, that I think you've responded to me that you enjoy smoking. And I think a lot of people that smoke do enjoy smoking. And I think that if that is still your feelings about smoking today, then you're going to keep smoking. So when you ask me how do you get rid of the physical enjoyment of addiction, I did not enjoy alcohol when I stopped drinking alcohol. I didn't enjoy it. It was way more harm than good for my life. So I think that when it comes to that question, the physical enjoyment of addiction, I think that most addicts, most people that are addicted to something, at some point realize, you hope, that has gone from being a good thing and an enjoyable thing to chaos and destruction. So I think that when it gets to that point, if it does get to that point to where it's causing destruction in your life, then it's no longer an enjoyment, right? But there are people that enjoy drinking alcohol that don't overindulge, and they're just fine with that, and it works great for them. So they don't need to quit, right? Unless it's causing health problems. Well, then there's other issues, but. That is my answer to that question, is really the physical enjoyment. If there's physical enjoyment there, why do you want to quit? If it's for health reasons, then you got to get to the point that your health is more important than the enjoyment that you're getting out of it. But like I said, I think that most people there's a line when you decide whether it's too much for you or not. If you started experiencing health issues or something like that, which I did. I was experiencing health issues. There were a lot more boxes being checked on the negative for me when it came to drinking. I knew I didn't want to do it anymore, and so eventually you find a way because you're not enjoying it. Hopefully that answers your question. Um, oh, the third component, the doing, the actual doing, right? Because there are social engagements around what we do, right? I once asked someone that I know, I said to them, because they're lifelong alcoholics since I think probably about the age of 18, and this person is same age as me. So I once asked this person if I could help them stop drinking, would they want to? And there was no hesitation. The response was a clear no, because this is what I do with my buddies. We sit around and we drink. And so, this person has no desire to change, to stop drinking. Why? Because they enjoy it, right? So there's a lot of social things. Like if you like to go to happy hours and even the networking events, I always went to daytime networking events, after I stopped drinking. Why? Because to be in an environment where people are drinking and you are not, it's challenging, depending on how much the people are consuming, because it does change you, right? And so I don't even really go to evening events because I don't really belong there, because it's not really my jam, right? But there are a lot of people that drink because it's socially accepted and it kind of makes them feel like they are a part of something, right? Because I definitely kind of when I attend those types of events and I say that I don't drink, some people act kind of weird about it, and then some people don't care. But either way, it's kind of weird for me anyway. But for a lot of people, like let's say or do a suit and tie job where you're meeting people all the time for dinner, for business meetings and things like that. There's usually wine and alcohol involved in that. So, for somebody that it's kind of intertwined within their life, deeply intertwined within their life, then it's harder to break those, because it's going to affect literally like every part of your social life, maybe your business life, and all of those things. And so the doing actually, if your friends smoke and you're trying to quit smoking, if your friends drink and you're trying to quit drinking, those types of things make it very difficult, because when you're making big changes, you'll most likely have to change some of your environment. I mean, it just depends on what you're trying to change and how long that issue has been in place. Because like I said, the behavior, like what you're doing, that's the last part of the equation. You already have to deal with the subconscious mind, the physiological aspects, and then you definitely have to work on the environment, right? What you're doing. I mean, if you hang out, you're trying to lose weight, and you need to go to the gym, but you're hanging out with all your best buddies, and they don't do that. They don't need to do that. They can lay around on the couch and stay skinny. What are you going to really want to do? You're going to want to lay around on the couch and stay skinny, or stay the way you are. I mean, at least for as long as you can tolerate it. Why? Because that's what's familiar to you, and that's your environment. So that last part, the physical part of it, just like with phone use. I mean, smoking has so many triggers. My gosh, I remember I had so many triggers with my smoking. So just like the phone that I was talking about, right? Triggers, right? That made me want to smoke. As soon as I get in my car, light up, right? Excuse me. So when you have not just one thing that's driving the behavior, social drinking. Okay, wow. Okay, I have to go out to the bar or whatever. be influenced to drink if that's your only pattern. But when I was smoking cigarettes, there were so many different triggers. You have to change a lot of behaviors, and for some people you have to replace those behaviors. Like I remember this program that I went through when I was about 18 or 19 years old. This is how bad I wanted to quit smoking. It was called Smoke Enders, and they would have you brush your teeth. Every time that you thought about smoking, you were supposed to brush your teeth. So you would get a new pleasurable experience to replace the deprivation of the cigarette, right? Uh, and if all you're trying to do, is quit the smoking, but you haven't worked on the why, or you haven't gotten into agreement that you really do want to quit smoking, then again, you're going to fail. You have to be in alignment with what you're trying to do, right? Right. All right. Any questions so far? Any other questions? No questions. So where are we? So we got down to the last behavior, the physical behavior. Your body is always going to return to what is good, safe, familiar, and it's up to you to respond differently. To become aware of, what is really driving your behavior. Be aware of the physiological responses. Are they pleasurable? If they are, you gotta reframe that. You say, okay, well, they might be pleasurable, but they're killing me, right? So you have to reassess. You got to change that if you really, really want to make that change. So that's pretty much it. It's not about discipline. It's about the doing. It's actually about the doing. So because I'm a hypnotherapist, I always like to talk just a few seconds, a few minutes, whatever, here about hypnosis, because there's so many people that think that when you're hypnotized, you lose control, and you absolutely do not lose control. It's about sort of a high wire access into the subconscious so that you can reframe and replace those thoughts that you want to get rid of, those patterns that you want to get rid of. And so what I do in RTT is all about revealing what the real, when you really set this process into play. And sometimes it's something traumatic, and sometimes it's something pleasurable. But there's a pattern, there's a behavior that was kicked into play. And so with RTT, you get to revisit that moment or moments that created this process for you. And that's very powerful. It's very powerful. And then we also reframe that about how maybe it served you then, doesn't serve you anymore, right? But hypnosis, I cannot make you do something that you don't want to do with hypnosis. So if you don't want to quit smoking or you don't want to quit drinking, it's very difficult to do it with hypnosis. You have to be willing. You have to be on board to do that. It takes commitment. And it's not about control. It's about revealing, reframing, replacing. And if you're just trying to do something without replacing the old patterns, the old mindset, you're just spinning your wheels, honestly. When all the components work together, the subconscious, the body, and the behavior, change stops being a fight because you're in alignment with what you want to do, right? So if you are interested, like I said, I'm an author. I wrote Breaking Free from the Lies That Bind You. I got to give my daughter a shout out. She bought me this, her and my grandkids bought me this pen. Bougie. I love this thing. Thank you so much, Erica. I love you guys. And so next Tuesday, if you're interested in taking this to the next level, I'm hosting a 3-day New Year's resolution boot camp where we will do a deep dive into all of these components one night at a time, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 6 p.m. via Zoom. Each day focuses on a different component, and on the third evening we are going to do a guided experiential process that will hopefully be revealing. And listen, this isn't just motivation, it's understanding, it's awareness, and followed by experience. Next Tuesday, January 27th through the 29th, 6 to 7 p.m. You can go to my website, lisamichaels.org, the Book Now page, and you can book it. And I have a coupon code, 2026 Success. I'm going to put it in the comments. You can use that for $20 off. You can actually use it for $20 off any one of my services right now, as long as I keep the coupon code up. But the 3-day boot camp starts next Tuesday. If you want to really put yourself into hyperspeed on achieving what it is that you actually want to achieve. And I thank you so much for joining me tonight, all of you, on my Facebook Live. It's all in your head, talking about New Year's resolutions. And next week, we're going to do a real deep dive on addiction. A lot of things that I've experienced firsthand, witnessed firsthand, helped with people firsthand. It's much more complex than most people know, and I want to really share my information around addiction because I feel that there's a lot of misunderstandings, and those misunderstandings cost lives. And so I want to share what I've experienced around addiction. So I really look forward to seeing everybody. Thank you again for joining me. And I will see you. Thank you, Lisa. Awesome book. Thank you so much. And I will see you guys next Monday. And stay blessed and keep doing things your way. Over and out. Lisa Michaels. Thanks, guys.